Good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us in this meeting. My name is Joel Ocasio-Marcano, Interim Deputy Director of the Procurement Division for the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program and the Mitigation Program. In this pre-proposal meeting, we're going to explain the process for the CDBG-DR-MIT-RFP-2022-07. Request for proposals for construction management services for home repair, reconstruction, or relocation program, blue roof repair program, and single family mitigation program. I would like to introduce the Puerto Rico Department of Housing person. Along with me is Vanessa Acovis-Ross, Procurement Specialist, David Cordero Hernandez, Technical Specialist, Ruth Hernandez Mendez, Technical Specialist, Alejandro Castro from the Housing Division, and Carolina Fernandez from the Federal Compliance and Subrecipient Management Division. Any questions submitted in this meeting will be answered in writing and will be published by an addendum. Any information provided in this meeting does not change the terms and conditions established in the request for proposal instructions. All procurement process shall be conducted in accordance with the terms and conditions established in the procurement manual for the CDBG-DR program to guarantee full and open competition and fair treatment of all persons or entities involved in each procurement process. The procurement manual is available at our webpage and is incorporated by reference and made an integral part of this RFP. As I said, nothing said in this pre-proposal meeting will change any of the terms and conditions of the RFP except those in written amendment to the solicitation issued through an addendum. Now we have a presentation from the Housing Division to explain the scope of services in this process.
All right, thanks, Joel. Can everyone see my screen? Yes, to confirm.
Yes.
Okay, so good morning to everyone, and thank you for participating in today's pre-proposal virtual conference meeting. And today we will be going through the scope of work for the construction management services, both for the R3 program, blue roof repair program, and single family mitigation program. One quick second. Okay, so general objectives. The PRDOH is issuing the RFP to procure highly qualified and skilled architecture and engineering designers and contractors to provide the construction management services for the R3, the blue roof, and their single family housing mitigation programs. This will perform as a design build and a single source responsibility entity, and they will strengthen these programs by providing their expertise, technical knowledge, and the successful implementation for these programs. These are to conduct and perform in a safe evaluation and completion of the projects in time, budget, in quality, and in compliance with federal, state, local laws, statutory regulation requirements, program policy, and standards. These are directly responsible for ensuring the accuracy, timeliness, quality, and completion of all tasks assigned under the contract, and to provide the program applicants with the highest customer service standards. These are to diligently identify and reduce risks and legal burden to the PRDOH, the programs, and its representatives. Okay, so the organizational chart, of course, the PRDOH is the recipient of the CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT funds. I represent the grant management housing team, And the program managers are the ones that are gonna responsible for the program administration to contract for the contract administration for the construction manager's contract. They are responsible for applications and case management. They are responsible to perform initial assessments and determine an initial project intent for the cases. A program manager will perform environmental review records, tier 2 records. They will evaluate scope of work, scope changes. They will make and schedule the award determinations and award meetings. They are the ones responsible to emit a task order and issue an NTP to construction managers. They will conduct progress inspections, and they are responsible to oversight and administer statutory compliance and other responsibilities. Construction managers, they are responsible to perform the design, permitting, abatement, demolition, construction, and subcontractor administration. They are to provide with practical, feasible, and cost-reasonable design solutions and cost control to avoid overrun of program budgets. They are to optimize project completions, abide by the environmental review record requirements. They are to comply with the green building initiatives and to comply with their safety plan, quality plan, reuse and reduce and recycle plan, and to comply with statutory compliance and other responsibilities. So I'm gonna make a very high level introduction to the CDBG-DR and CDBG-DRMIT programs. Remember, this is for informational purposes only, and this presentation does not modify any of the terms, conditions, and requirements set forth in the RFP. So, under the disaster recovery, the DR programs, we have the home reconstruction or relocation program, RT program. This program is currently in operational phase. The current applications being served right now are of the intake priority groups 1, 2, and 3. And this procurement process will open the additional applications related to the intake priority groups 4 and the non-priority groups. So how about the Blue Roof Repair programs? These were applications identified by the PRDOH by the Blue Roof Survey. These applications will be run or will be implemented under the R3 program workflow to expedite the program assistance and to provide these applicants with a faster response. So under the CDBG-DR, R3 and Blue Roof Repair programs, one of the requirements is for a case to have a tieback to hurricanes Irma and or Maria. That means a tieback to the storms. That's how we usually refer to this. So under the mitigation program, we have the single family housing mitigation program. This is pending launch. That means operational phase. These are applications that were identified under the PRDOH Blue Roof Survey, and they will be implemented under the single family MIT program workflow. These are to provide with resiliency and mitigation measures to reduce the loss of life and property from expected future disasters. The program may provide with photovoltaic panels with battery storage and water storage systems under a repair, retrofit, or reconstruction awards when this is feasible. One difference under the CDBG-MIT SF-MIT program is that the case requires to have a mitigation on MET, and it does not require a tieback to Hurricane Irma or Maria. So that's one small difference between the R3 Blue Roof serve under the DR funds, and the single family housing mitigation serve under the mitigation program. So I'm gonna quickly go over through some of the major components of the scope of work. So as I mentioned earlier, the program managers are the ones responsible for an initial site walk and to determine an initial project intent. However, the construction managers are responsible to review those documents and to confirm if the project intent is correct. So under the RT program and Blue Roof Repair program, the construction managers will perform a scoping site walk, will evaluate all the documents provided, and will confirm the project intent. Of course, they will provide a scope of work, design, and cost reasonableness. One difference from the current RT program and the new workflow is that in the initial phase, we will have a damage assessment and an environmental desktop review that will identify all the environmental risks, hazards, historical zones, historical properties, etc. So right off the bat, you will have, the construction managers will have plenty of information to confirm those initial project intents. In difference to the R3 program, Blue Roof Repair program, this workflow requires a property risk assessment and an environmental desktop review to evaluate if resiliency and mitigation unmet needs is identified. The same construction managers are responsible to evaluate all the documentation, to perform a scoping site walk, and confirm the scope of work and initial project intent. They will provide with a scope of work, a design, and cost reasonableness. So, general responsibilities for design. Of course, construction managers will provide with the design of repairs, design of retrofits under the SFMIT program. We may retrofit a structure if that is required. We can do soil control, and of course, under the three programs, the construction managers will provide a pre-design of a model home to replace those deemed substantially damaged. They will implement model home adaptations when this is required. They will comply with the minimum architectural and design standards and comply with green building initiatives. In the environmental responsibilities, they are to mitigate any adverse findings from the environmental reviews for any repair or reconstruction work. They will obtain environmental clearance for abatement activities. They will review any remaining environmental documentation to prepare any necessary modifications within the design. And of course, they need to comply with environmental requirements. In the permitting area, they are to obtain all relevant permits, approvals, and endorsements for projects. They are to close and maintain all relevant permits. They are to implement any permit requirement into the design and reflect these implementations within design documents and specifications. In the construction side, they will provide with demolition. They will provide with abatement activities if that is needed. They will repair cases if that is the intent, or build a new construction if that is the intent. Of course, all work must be performed in accordance with the applicable codes and regulations, as well as the scope of work included in the RFP. Contract deliverables. Once a proposal is deemed as a qualified proposal and a contract is executed, the construction management firm must provide a safety plan submission within 30 days from contract execution. They need to provide a quality plan within 30 days from contract execution, and a solid waste management plan within 30 days of contract execution. Please refer to the corresponding sections of the RFP for more details. The design responsibility. Remember, we are going to request that construction managers provide with a model home, conceptual design, design development, and the final designs. And this is divided into 3 phases. The first phase is the conceptual design that must clearly show the design intent, the appearance, aesthetics, functionality, space distribution, material utilization, construction methodology, sustainability, and resilience measures. They shall include conceptual drawings, renderings, and the design narrative. This starts upon contract execution. Now, it is important to mention that part of the RFP submissions require a single-story and 2-story bedroom model home as part of the RFP submission. In the design development, this is a more detailed presentation of model homes, and these are to include the technical specifications, the drawings, renderings, design narrative, cost estimate, permits, and endorsements. The final design, these are required to include the design of the site conditions, design for demolition and abatement work, is to include all the construction and construction drawings and technical specifications, the final permits, endorsements, and of course, this will begin upon an assignment of a home to a construction manager, or once a task order is issued, as we commonly refer it in the programs. So, the design submission requirements. As mentioned earlier, we are requesting single-story, 2-story. In the RFP, we have published the maximum caps for 2-bedroom single-story, 2-bedroom 2-story, 3-bedroom single-story, 2-story, 4-bedroom single-story, and 2-story. And we have a compact and narrow lot which will be developed when this is required. The drawings are to include the floor plans, building elevations, sections. The renderings are to include the perspective, 3D views of the facades, and 3D views of the interior living and dining area. The narrative must clearly describe the overall design concept and set forth. That means the space provided, layout functionality, proposed construction materials, proposed construction methods, energy efficiency, sustainable design considerations, expected time for construction, and the necessary strategies to meet the designated budgets. So, codes and program standards. As mentioned earlier, all work must comply with the most current codes and design standards applicable to Puerto Rico. These are to comply with the minimum architectural and design standards. One of the requirements is for all rooms to have access to natural light and ventilation. Bathroom must have showers, no bathtubs. All doors must have a 32-inch clear door opening width. Kitchens must be open to the dining and living area. And the roof waterproofing system to comply with building energy code. And of course, the installation must be uplift resistant. The primary material for construction of structures will be concrete and produced with locally manufactured cement. So part of the requirements, each model home requires a specific amount of square feet, depending whether these are 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, and 4-bedroom. The total area, it's clearly established. One keynote that I want to point out is that that is preferable for the laundry area to be in the interior of the model home, and the model homes with ADA requirements shall abide with the ADA standards for accessible design. And this is a program requirement. This is a requirement of the PRDOH. As mentioned earlier, compact and narrow lot versions will be developed and evaluated when these are required. This will not be part of the initial design solutions. So, stylistic options for the reconstruction model homes. Construction managers are responsible for developing the pamphlets and the corresponding literature regarding the model home stylistic options. The applicants will be provided options to select facade variations, exterior door styles, exterior window styles, exterior paint color schemes, kitchen cabinets and countertop finishes, floor tile options, and any other optional component that does not have an impact in cost. The homeowner selections or stylistic options shall be signed off by the applicants, and these are to be clearly identified and depicted in the construction documents. Okay, so how will we do this? How we will divide these deliverables? First, the conceptual design submission will be provided within 30 days from contract execution. And we will request the model home variations of 1, 2-level, 2, 3, 4-bedroom, including the ADA features and details, okay? The design development, this will be requested maximum 90 days from contract execution, and this will be developed once a conceptual model home is approved. The idea is to first move what we call a first package of the 2-bedroom, then the second package of 3-bedroom, and the third package will be of the 4-bedroom. Okay, so in the presentation, in the RFP, we clearly indicate how will this be performed. Once the design model homes are approved, they are to be submitted to the OCPE for the Plano Seguro approval within 14 days. So that is the submission. This does not mean the approval, okay? Once you get that design development approval, look, in 14 days, this will be submitted to the OCPE Plano Seguro. Okay, so green building initiatives. These apply to rehabilitation in place. This means basically repairs. These are to comply with the green building standards as set forth in the Federal Register. These are the hot guidelines on the community planning and development green building retrofit checklist and the hot CPD green building retrofit checklist, which requires the use of mold-resistant products, Energy Star labeled products, water sense labeled products and appliances, and use of designated products or appliances. Construction managers are responsible for acquiring and providing these certifications for the final payment in repair cases. Green building initiatives on reconstruction model homes. The construction managers, they shall identify which of the green building standards they will use for a project. There's a predetermined list in the Federal Register and it's published in the RFP in the scope of work as well. The construction management firms are responsible for acquiring the GBS certification, and this is a requirement for final payment. Construction managers are encouraged to pursue GBS that will ensure that you can ensure that will be accomplished once a project is completed, okay? So, resiliency measures. For the single family mitigation program, as mentioned earlier, we may provide a photovoltaic system, a water storage system, and construction managers will be responsible for the evaluation of the existing proposed project conditions, for incorporating, planning, and providing the materials, equipment required for the adequate performance of these systems, and ensuring that the systems are provided and included in the construction documents, okay? The PV system designers and installations shall comply with the corresponding laws, rules, and regulations. So, one of the difference or one of the requirements for the construction management services is that they will provide with the asbestos containing material and the base paint studies. These studies, the testing, the results, and the reporting shall be in accordance with the federal and state regulatory standards. And construction management firms will be responsible for providing and verifying that all personnel performing these assessments have the certifications required by the EPA and the DRNA, HOT program policy, and any applicable federal and state law and regulation. They will implement any environmental requirement as a result of the environmental assessments within the design, demolition, repair, and construction phases. They will certify environmental clearance of works and provide permit closing documents, and they will secure and pay for permits, work, testing, and certifications when any abatement work is required. For the permitting responsibilities, construction managers are responsible to obtain, secure, and pay all incidental permits, endorsements, certifications required by the OCPE or the autonomous municipalities and any regulatory agency to perform demolition, abatement, repair, and new construction of work. Construction managers are responsible for pursuing variance requests to enable design, construction feasibility, and potentially reduce the amount of relocations. They are responsible to submit any of the permit closing documents within the project's final permitting package. When an occupancy permit is required, this is to be filed and obtained within the established period of time, and this is subject to liquidated damages. Demolition work. Construction management firms are responsible for performing demolition work upon a program's approval or an NTP. They will be responsible for demolishing existing structures or site elements as approved by the program, submitting a demolition work plan. These are to be reflected in the construction documents, and the disposition of the resulting demolitions shall be in accordance with a program requirement, which is named a program solid waste management plan. This is described furtherly in the scope of work. As you all know, this is a performance-based contract, so construction management firms, they will be actively monitored for their performance by metrics and milestones, and repeated failures may result in limited assignments, probatory period, corrective plans, scope of work, or a reassignment of cases or projects. The construction management firms will be evaluated for workmanship, work in progress, design and permit time, average build time, and client satisfaction. This is furtherly described in the scope of work. Payments. For repair works, there will be a one pay point upon the completion of all the assigned repair work validated by the program. Construction management firms will be able to invoice repair work once all the work has been completed and accepted by the PRDOH or its representatives. A retainage of 10% will be applied to repair award invoices if the construction manager, for the construction manager firms, until all required documents are provided. For reconstruction works, there is identified 4 pain points. This is divided as following. Upon the completion of a replacement home's foundation, we will pay up to 25% of the total task order, less 10% retainage. And this includes the demolition of the damaged home. A second pain point will be upon the completion of the replacement home's structure, and up to 60% of the total task order, less the amount of the retainage, that is 10%. The third pay point will be upon the completion of the replacement home finishes, up to 100% of the total task order, less 10% of retainage. And upon acceptance of the completed work, the retainage will be released. Liquidated damages. There will be a consistent 100 per day for delays and 500 liquidated damages for failed milestone inspections, which this will cover for a for a designated inspector going back to the field and performing that failed inspection. Hopefully this will not happen. Warranty periods. All work performed by the construction managers will be warranted as per the following. The roof waterproofing work will be warranted for a minimum of 10 years. The solar water heaters will be warranted for a minimum of 5 years. Equipment and appliances will be warranted for a minimum of 1 year, or as provided by the manufacturer, whichever is greater. The PV systems are to be warranted for a minimum of 10 years. The PV modules for a minimum of 25 years of linear performance. The solar PV battery bank and inverted for a minimum of 10 years. The water storage system for a minimum of 5 years, and all other work will be warranted for a period of 1 year. For the warranty periods, the construction managers may be required to correct any defects or problems arising from a task order. So the proposal requirements. This is how you guys will present to the PRDOH your RFP package. This will be divided in three main sections. The mandatory requirements. This shall include all the documents required under the Exhibit A1. The qualifications and work approach. This is the technical proposals. These are to be included as per the requirements in the Exhibit A2, and the cost proposal requirement, that means the price proposals, as per the requirements set forth in the Exhibit A3. I just want to point out and mention that please, all construction managers, all proposers, make sure that every package is complete, every signature is provided, you provide it with everything. So please make sure you provide all the information that is requested under the RFP instructions. The mandatory requirements, they are composed of the company cover page, the proposal submission. These are to be submitted before the proposal due date, the organizational documentation, the financial stability information, and authorization of background and financial information. They are to provide with non-conflict of interest forms, affidavits, certifications, etc., sworn statements, and hot form 4010 related to federal labor standards and provisions. I'm just going very high level on of these requirements. The construction management levels, each proposer, they will self-select whether they are a level 1 or a level 2. And the main difference is that a level 1 have a greater financial capability and are able to perform work in large quantities at any given time within a larger geographical area in Puerto Rico. A level 2 construction management firm, these are to have moderate financial capabilities and are able to perform moderate quantities of work at any given time within adjacent groups of municipalities close to their headquarters. Level 1 financial requirements, they require to have a minimum bonding capacity of 25 million and a line of credit or cash availability of 15 million. Level 2 construction management firm are to require a minimum bonding capacity of $5 million and a line of credit or cash availability of 50 million. The proposer, the qualifications and work approach. The proposers must establish their experience, their past performance, and record of integrity. The proposal must include the profile, establishing the experience, expertise, and qualifications of the proposers for both design and construction services, the company identification and form of business, the organizational chart, integrity, team experience and capacity, and a list of comparable projects. For the staff and management, they are to demonstrate that they have the capable personnel by including the name, education, years of experience, and resumes of the following key staff. For the R3 and Blue Roof Repair program, we are requesting a senior project manager, a lead design manager, and a lead construction manager. For the SFMIT program, we are requesting a senior project manager, a lead design manager, and a lead construction manager as well. The references, the proposers shall provide reference for both design and construction services performed for past or current clients. Each key staff personnel shall have at least 3 references. The reference will provide the required contact information and shall complete a performance rating questionnaire. Qualifications and work approach. Construction managers shall demonstrate they have completed comparable projects, at least within the at least 5 projects, current or within the last 10 years, where the proposer or any of its team member provided architectural and engineering design services and which qualify the proposers to manage the design component of the program. The project submitted should be preferably via single or multifamily designs, and the combined estimated construction cost greater than or equal than $1 million. Another comparable projects requirement is at least 5 projects current or within the last 10 years where the proposer or any of their team members provided construction services as either the prime contractor, a subcontractor, and which qualify the proposer to manage the repair and construction components of the program. The project submitted should preferably be single or multi-family projects, and the construction cost no greater than or equal than $1 million. Another requirement is to provide at least 2 projects current or within the last 10 years where the proposer or any of their team members provided demolition and or abatement services as either the prime contractor or as a subcontractor, and which qualify the proposers to manage the demolition and abatement components of the project. Work approach. So this is not to exceed 20 pages. And the work approach must clearly describe the construction manager's overall understanding of the goals and requirements of the programs. This means the R3, blue roof, and the single family MIT programs. They are to demonstrate the proposer's understanding and best practices of construction management services, to provide the approach and operational strategies to control project schedule, cost, safety, quality, function, and scope of scattered projects in multiple locations, different phases of constructions, and in different levels of complexity, and how these are to be performed by self-performing crews or subcontractors. They must clearly describe the proposer's knowledge and experience of the program's applicable construction codes, regulations, and standards, provide the approach on how the proposer will ensure compliance with while performing planning, design, permitting, and construction activities. The work approach, again, must clearly describe the proposer's operational plan to reduce the time of different phases of the programs and ensuring the quality of services. They shall provide the approach of how the design build team will optimize the production of 1, sidewalks, initial scope of work development, evaluations of project intent, project feasibility analysis, 2, performance of asbestos and lead based materials, construction documents, production and permitting process, 3, management of abatement work, demolition work, repair work, site work, replacement home construction work, and key turnover. So another requirement is for the proposers to describe their operational plan to ensure construction activity is performed, activity, safety management, supervision, and control of the work being produced by self-performing crews and or subcontractors. These are to provide the approach of how the proposers will perform activities according to program approved task order, construction drawings, technical specifications, submittals, manufacturer's recommendation, and consistent with the green building requirements, construction permitting, and regulatory agency requirements. The proposer shall provide the solid waste management plan of non-hazardous materials and provide the specific strategies of how the proposer will implement 1, the design strategies for material use, efficiency, and durability, 2, the detailed strategies to reuse and recycle demolition, construction, and organic materials, and the goal is to reduce waste and landfill disposal. Please include the percentages monitoring process and the internal reporting process. Proposers will support, my apologies, the proposers must describe how they will support the programs with practical, feasible, cost reasonable design solutions, means, and methods. provide the approach to reduce errors, omissions, unnecessary delays, whilst enabling to provide services and completing projects in a timely manner. The proposer will ensure that applicant complaints and warranty claims are managed, resolved in a timely manner, and provide a complaint and warranty claim management plan to evaluate, identify trends, patterns, and implement proactive solutions and areas of improvement in their operation. Provide a customer service approach to assess the construction management services, internal processes, areas of improvement, develop, implement, monitor, and calibrate internal strategies. So, program unit list and cost proposals. All repair, demolition, and abatement work implemented under the programs will be, the cost will be established by a pre-established line item of work. The program managers will use these line items to prepare reasonable cost of repair reports for each household. Unit prices may be used for the following activities: scope determination, invoicing processes, scope changes or similar modification to task orders, and assignment of cost to pending or corrective work. The program unit price list shall be composed of Exhibit G, that is the program unit price list cost form, the Exhibit G2, the replacement home cost proposal, Exhibit G3, that is the photovoltaic and water storage system cost form, Exhibit G4, that is the demolition work cost form, and of course the PRDOH may perform a cost reasonableness analysis of the unit prices submitted. Construction management must comply with the Mwbe business enterprises, and proposers who are seeking a section, there's an error there, who are seeking the MW business must be able to demonstrate one of the following criteria. Well, I'm sorry, this is, my apologies, there is an error on the presentation, but 51%, I'm gonna omit this slide because there is an error. The MWB section 3 is set forth in the scope of work, so I'm not gonna deep dive into this slide. The section 3 requirements is as set forth in the Housing and Urban Development Act, and this is specifically for this contract. The proposer shall indicate, if selected, how they will meet the section 3 minimum benchmark and will enforce these requirements with any subcontractors during the life of the contract with the PRDOH. So please refer to what's current section 3 project safe harbor benchmarks as established in accordance with the provisions of 24 CFR 2523. The RFP schedule, the public notice was published on June the 17th. Documents availability since June the 17th. The request invitation to pre-proposal arbitral conference by email was on or before the June 22nd. The pre-proposal arbitral conference is this one. This is being performed today, June the 23rd, beginning at 10 a.m. Submission of questions and requests for clarifications shall be provided on or before June the 28th, and the responses for this request for clarifications shall be provided in or before July the 6th. Proposals due date is from July 27th, 9 a.m. to July 29th, 22 at 4 p.m. I just want to wrap this up, mentioning again, this was for informational purposes only. The presentation does not modify any of the terms, conditions, and requirements set forth in the RFP, and any questions shall be submitted in writing per the RFP instructions. So that'll be all on behalf of my end, and I wish all the proposers the best of luck. So, gracias. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Alejandro, for the information provided. Good morning. My name is Vanessa Covis, and today I will explain the process to submit inquiries and how to have access to the addendas. All the RFP documents are available for download at the CDBG-DR website. Regarding the submission of inquiries and addendas, each prospective proposer shall submit all questions in writing on or before June 28, 2022 to the CDBG-DR mailing address. Responses to all proposers' questions will be answered by an addenda and will be posted on the CDBG-DR website. All documents related to this acquisition process, including the addendas issued by the Puerto Rico Department of Housing, are and will be available for download at the website. All proposers are responsible to monitor the CDBG-DR website for any issue addenda regarding this RFP. Now I will leave you with David Cordero Hernandez, who will give you more information regarding the proposal submission process.
Thank you, Vanessa. Good afternoon. My name is David Cordero Hernandez, and I will be informing you about the proposal electronic submission. Proposals are to be submitted on the proposal's due date stated in section 4.3 of this RFP. Responses to the RFP submitted after the prescribed deadline will not be allowed. Submissions of response to the RFP will only be accepted by electronic means. Proposers are advised that the PRDOH will neither require nor accept physical proposal submissions. If proposals are submitted in both electronic and in paper formats, the PRDOH will only consider the electronic format for evaluation. The proposers will receive access to submit the electronic proposals after registration process is complete through the CDBG-DR website. At the scheduled due date for electronic proposal submission, a link button will be enabled to provide access to the registration form. Proposers should complete all the required fields in the form. Proposal must be submitted within the closing date and time for proposals as established in section 4.3 of this RFP. Access to upload the electronic proposal will commence 3 business days before the scheduled due date and time. And now my teammate Ruth Paola Hernandez will be providing you the information regarding the evaluation criteria.
Good morning. Thank you, David. The evaluation committee will evaluate responsive proposals in accordance with the criteria listed below. The criteria below are listed in order of importance: professional qualifications and experience of the proposer to successfully perform the services required in this RFP, as evidenced by the successful implementation of similar programs in large complex public organizations, preferably state government and municipalities. Professional qualifications and specialized experience of the proposed key staff personnel as evidenced by relevant experience to the role proposed. Quality of the proposed approach and its relevance to the services described in this RFP, including implementation schedule and understanding of the PRDOH goals. Appearance, functionality, area requirements, quality of proposed materials, construction methods, and overall proposer understanding of the R3, BRR, and SFMIT programs requirements of the conceptual designs. Capacity of the key staff personnel and the ability to commit adequate time to effectively perform the services in the role assigned within the required timeframe, financial stability of the proposers and its capacity to effectively perform the services, level, quality, and relevancy of participation by Section 3 business concern and MBE/WBE registered Puerto Rico business. The proposer and first-tier subcontractors must be registered in the system for award management at the time of the proposal submission or initiate the registration process right after the bid submission. For more information about the system for award management, go to the SAM website. There is no registration fee to create or renew/update your organizational information on SAM. Awards will only be issued to entities that are clear and not ineligible for award of a contract due to the suspension, debarment, or HUD imposed limited denial of participation. Now we have a presentation from Carolina Fernandez from the Federal Compliance and Subrecipient Management Division for an introduction to Section 3 and MWBE business.
Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the space to present compliance and labor standards requirements. This presentation is prepared in English. However, should anyone need this presentation in Spanish, you can request using the protocols for this procurement to submit the request. I am representing the Department of Housing Federal Compliance team led by Maria del Carmen Figueroa.
Today we will discuss as part of our agenda an overview of compliance roles and responsibilities. We will also cover some tools that are available online. We will also talk about documenting efforts, taking advantage of training that's made available, and reporting requirements as well as frequently asked questions.
In this presentation, we will be discussing Section 3 training, hiring, and contracting opportunities, minority and women-owned business participation, fair housing and equal opportunity, and Davis-Bacon and the related acts.
Contractors or subrecipients using CDBG-DR or CDBG-MIT funding have certain roles and responsibilities. These include assigning staff who will attend the day-to-day implementation of federal compliance requirements, attending trainings and workshops, using tools and templates, executing the activities, and completing documentation that's required. You can also participate in Department of Housing sponsored technical assistance sessions. You must complete quarterly reporting and comply with the reporting requirements. The procurement package contains language that offers contractors the ability to seek bonus points. Please remember to use the references and the templates that are made available and that we will be discussing in this presentation. Proposers seeking Section 3 bonus points should provide their self-certifications and sufficient evidence for how they qualify as a Section 3 business. The Department of Housing offers a template on their website. Proposers who are seeking MBE or WBE bonus points should provide a copy of their MWBE certification to provide evidence of this status. The certificates provided should show the dates and indicate that they are currently active. The procurement package contains sections that speak to the applicability and the requirements for MWBE. Within those sections, you will find helpful links to online resources that are made available, such as the policy guide.
Procurement packages also contain language for Section 3 under 24 CFR 75. This language speaks to the applicability and compliance with Section 3. Within the section, you will find helpful links to online resources that are made available, such as the policy guide and self-certification templates.
Let's talk about Section 3. Section 3 is a federal requirement from the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968. This requirement states that we should provide to the greatest extent feasible job training, employment, contracting, and other economic opportunities generated by this HUD financial assistance to be directed to low and very low income persons and businesses. The Department of Housing makes available a Section 3 policy guide on their website, both in English and in Spanish. Contractors must read and implement activities as applicable and necessary. They also are responsible for their subcontractors assuring that benchmarks are met. For Section 3 projects, 24 CFR 75 has established the following benchmarks. 25% of the total labor hours for a project should be work hours of Section 3 workers. And from that 25%, 5% of the total labor hours should be work hours of targeted Section 3 workers. Let's talk about the definition of a Section 3 business. A Section 3 business refers to a business concern meeting at least one of the following criteria, which is documented within the last 6 months. The business is at least 51% owned and controlled by low or very low income persons. It could also be a business that has at least 51% ownership and controlled by a public housing resident or residents who currently live in Section 8 assisted housing. It could also be a business that has over 75% of the labor hours performed for that business over the prior 3-month period by Section 3 workers. In this slide, we're going to look at the definition of a Section 3 worker. A Section 3 worker can be any worker who fits or, when hired within the last 5 years, fit at least one of the following categories. The worker's income for the previous or annualized calendar year is below the income limit established by HUD. It could also be a worker who is employed by a Section 3 business concern. Or the worker is a youth build participant. Now let's talk about what a targeted Section 3 worker is. A Section 3 targeted worker for community development financial assistance projects is a person who is employed by a Section 3 business. It could also be a person who currently fits or when hired fit at least one of the following categories as documented within the past 5 years. Someone living within the service area or the neighborhood of the project as defined in 24 CFR 75.5 or a youth build participant. The neighborhood or service area for a targeted Section 3 worker is that in which you can find at least 5,000 persons within a 1-mile radius of the project. If there are less than 5,000 persons within that 1-mile radius, you can expand that radius until you have 5,000 persons around the Section 3 covered project site. Each year, HUD releases new income limits. These income limits typically come out around April. The latest income limits for 2022 are made available on the slide. The Department of Housing has created various forms for helping maintain compliance. There is a Section 3 plan that can be used by contractors or subrecipients. There are also Section 3 self-certification forms. And finally, there is a form to help you document your efforts. Let's take a closer look at your Section 3 plan. This document helps you identify new hiring needs, subcontracting needs. It helps you plan your outreach efforts and assists your coordinators in identifying the day-to-day activities. It helps you define compliant procedures, and it helps you understand your reporting requirements. You can use the link on the slide to visit the website and download a Section 3 plan template. In this slide, we want to focus on the Section 3 self-certification forms. These useful tools help you uncover if workers or subcontracting businesses meet the income thresholds required. HUD offers also a business registry. This registry allows you to register yourself as a Section 3 business. The registry also has a tool that helps serve folks looking for Section 3 business databases. We will now turn our attention to minority and women-owned business compliance. There are various regulations that call for the inclusion of minorities and women business enterprises. 2 CFR 200.321, as well as Executive Orders 11625, 12138, and 12432 establish the participation of MWBE firms, which seek to ensure that when possible, contracts and other economic opportunities funded in whole or in part with federal housing and community development assistance are directed to minority business enterprises and women business enterprises. The Department of Housing has established an MWBE policy guide. This is available on the website in both English and Spanish. You can access those documents using the link on the slide. Let's look at what a minority business enterprise is. An MBE is defined as a business which is at least 51% owned, operated, and controlled on a daily basis by one or more American citizens of the following ethnic minority and/or gender and/or military veteran classifications: African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, Native American, Hasidic Jew, persons with disabilities, and other individuals who can prove social and economic disadvantage. Women business enterprises, or WBEs, are businesses that are at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more women. The owners must be U.S. citizens or legal resident aliens whose business formation and principal place of business are here in the U.S. or its territories, and whose management and daily operation is controlled by women. The MWBE policy guide will identify that there are goals which apply to professional services, purchasing supplies, and construction contracting. There is a total of 20% minimum participation goal. This 20% is comprised of 10% for women-owned businesses and 10% for minority-owned businesses. Contractors are expected to perform good faith efforts for contracting, subcontracting, and purchasing opportunities of $10,000 or more during the life of the contract. The Department of Housing has also created various forms for helping maintain compliance with MWBE. One of those is the MWBE Utilization Plan. This document template allows contractors or subrecipients to identify how they plan on being in compliance with these contracting goals. There is also a waiver form. This document allows contractors or subrecipients to identify if they meet the requirements to waive their goals for MWBE. Let's look at the MWBE Utilization Plan. This tool helps you compile data for your subcontracting. It helps you identify what needs you may have. It helps hold discussions on creating supplier and contractor listings, and it provides awareness of meeting the goal for the contract and tracking. You can use the link on the slide to go to the website and download the plan template. Let's review how you should complete your MWBE Utilization Plan. The Department of Housing Utilization Plan template can be used throughout the life cycle of your contract. Completing the plan is pretty easy. You should read the general instructions in row 3 and complete sections A, B, and F from the document. Complete the information requested in the yellow cells. When we talk about certified minority or women-owned businesses, we are referring to those who have filed applications with federal entities such as SBA and others that you see here on the slide. Businesses who are certified can provide proof of completing an application process to be officially recognized as a certified minority or women-owned business. If you are registered as an MWBE, you should provide your valid certificate or other evidence in response to this RFP. In this section, we will be discussing how to complete your efforts and quarterly reporting. In order for you to report your efforts, the Department of Housing provides a tool. This tool helps you document and identify how often you are seeking interactions with Section 3 businesses and MWBE businesses. The quarterly reporting form allows for you to share and report your data with the Department of Housing. This allows the agency to fulfill oversight responsibilities and monitor the progress throughout the year. The Department of Housing's quarterly reporting form allows for the user to capture multiple compliance areas all in one Excel form. Section 3 data is collected. MWBE data is collected as well. FHEO information is also documented within the report. And finally, for those who have construction projects, there is a report for Davis-Bacon Unfound Workers Efforts Reporting. Awarded contractors will be responsible for reporting 4 times a year, on April 5th, July 5th, October 5th, and January 5th. This ensures that you are meeting benchmarks and documenting your efforts. The quarterly reporting template is also available on the Department of Housing website. Let's briefly discuss FHEO. Your RFP package will also contain a model contract which outlines fair housing and equal opportunity areas of compliance. Contractors are responsible for ensuring compliance with federal civil rights and fair housing through their contractors, subcontractors, and so forth, ensuring that all necessary efforts are being made. The Fair Housing Act and Sections 109 and 504 prohibit discrimination against the following protected classes of people: race, color, national origin, religion, sex, age, familial status, disability, gender identity, and sexual orientation. The Fair Housing Act is part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. There are many executive orders, laws, and statutes that govern the non-discrimination of protected classes to ensure equal opportunity for individuals in accessing federally funded programs. Equal opportunity is afforded to protected classes through a number of these federal laws and executive orders. The Department of Housing has published policy documents attending FHEO as well as Language Access Plan. These policies must be implemented by contractors and subrecipients. They are publicly available online in both English and Spanish. You are encouraged to click on the links and access the resources available. As a recipient of HUD financial assistance, the Department of Housing must ensure that all programs affirmatively further access to fair housing and that the programs provide equal opportunity for participation and employment. Reasonable accommodations are changes made to policies, practices, services, and structures, or modifications to afford equal opportunity to individuals with disabilities. The costs associated with providing reasonable accommodations and modifications are to be incurred by programs receiving federal funding. HUD contemplates these additional costs as necessary to ensure that the programs and activities it funds do not discriminate against people with disabilities. The slide contains a link for you to access the reasonable accommodation page on the Department of Housing website. Limited English proficiency refers to a person's limited ability to read, write, speak, or understand English. Due to Puerto Rico's high Spanish-speaking population, all entities and contractors using the CDBG-DR funding must seek to ensure that both a person's limited ability to read, write, speak, or understand English or Spanish will not place them at a disadvantage in the participation of programs.
In this section, we will now talk about the Davis-Bacon Act and the related acts. The Department of Housing has published the Davis-Bacon Policy Guide and made it available in English and in Spanish. The Department of Housing, its subrecipients, and their contractors must implement and comply with this policy when it's applicable. Most construction projects funded with CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT funds must comply with Davis-Bacon and related acts requirements to ensure that laborers and mechanics are paid prevailing wages. This includes overtime for the work performed on these federally funded projects. Contractors awarded contracts with these federal funds are responsible for understanding and complying with Davis-Bacon and related act requirements. The Department of Housing and its subrecipients are responsible for oversight. This includes reviewing payroll and other records related to the work performed using these federal funds for construction projects and ensure compliance with the requirements. In this presentation, we will discuss the applicability of these federal labor standards: Housing and Community Development Act, 29 CFR 5, Davis-Bacon Act, Fair Labor Standards Act, Contract Work Hours and Safety Standards Act, and the Copeland Anti-Kickback Act. The Davis-Bacon Act requires payment of prevailing wages as determined by the Department of Labor. It provides a fair opportunity to compete in building programs funded by the federal government. It prevents contractors from bidding below an area's prevailing wages. This law and requirement generally applies to federally funded or assisted programs that are valued at more than $2,000. Contracts for the following types of work on public buildings or public works include construction, alteration and repair, and even painting and decorating. The Contract Work Hours and Safety Standards Act, known as QASA, states that workers should not work more than 40 hours a week unless they are being compensated overtime, and that projects must comply with certain safety standards. The Copeland Anti-Kickback Act requires that there be payment of wages at least once a week, and it only speaks to permissible payroll deductions being allowed. The Fair Labor Standards Act sets the federal minimum wages and additional overtime requirements. In this slide, we discuss who from a construction project funded with CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT is responsible for implementing Davis-Bacon and the related acts. The implementation begins with the project team, who will be responsible for reviewing payrolls and preparing invoice packages. Procurement teams are also responsible for incorporating the correct compliance documents and wage rates within the procurement packages. Legal teams are responsible for incorporating correct compliance documents and wage rates in contracts before they are executed. The compliance team for each respective entity will be responsible for guiding the compliance activities that happen. Contractors and subcontractors working on the projects that are funded with CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT are directly responsible for implementing the day-to-day compliance with the Davis-Bacon Act and the related acts. The following slide discusses the major phases that are found within a construction project. There are activities that happen during procurement, during the pre-bid meeting, during a pre-construction meeting, during a contract signing, during on-site interviews, collecting and reviewing certified payrolls, notifying prime contractors, and when the project finishes, producing the project closeout letter, and finally, the ongoing reporting and record keeping.
Key phrases in implementation for DEBRA. 1. Incorporate the wage determination, labor standards provisions, and HOT Form 4010 into bid documents. Hold a pre-bid meeting to provide technical assistance to DEBRA and prior to awarding the contract. 3. Incorporate prevailing and federal wage determination, HOT Form 4010, and contract labor law language. 4. Hold a pre-construction meeting to provide technical assistance to your contractors on DEBRA. And 5, once construction begins, conduct job site visits and employee interviews using HOT Form 11. Carefully review weekly certified payroll reports and supporting documentation for the duration of the project. 7, issue due diligence notifications to the prime contractor describing the deficiencies to be reminded. 8, identify and correct all deficiencies before billing PRDOH or for CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT reimbursement. Issue a letter of authorization from DEBRA to the prime contractor prior to project closure. Retain records for 6 years in accordance with the housing records retention policy.
Additional resources. For some construction projects, even when the Davis-Bacon Act doesn't apply, you may still have to comply with other regulations such as QASA and FLSA. In those cases, you will still have to maintain record-keeping and oversight responsibilities. DOL Wage and Hour Division can also directly monitor and oversee your activity. The HUD 4010 form includes various clauses and important language for prime contractors and any subcontractors working on a federally funded project. Contractors must include this form with all subcontracting tiers to ensure compliance with Davis-Bacon and the related acts. DOL makes available the posters that must be included on a project site. The link to access these posters is included in the slide. They are available in multiple languages, including English and Spanish. Contractor penalties and consequences for non-compliance. The Department of Housing discusses penalties and consequences as part of its policy guide. These such actions may include having contract payments withheld in sufficient amounts to satisfy unpaid wages and liquidated damages that result from violations. You could also be subject to debarment from future contracts for up to 3 years, and other potential consequences. We encourage you to visit our website and find additional resources such as the Frequently Asked Questions, the Contractor's Implementation Guide, and many other additional trainings.
Let's briefly discuss some common frequently asked questions. Can a business be both Section 3 and MWBE? The answer is yes. A business or a contractor can be both because these compliance areas are actually separate. Section 3 identifies the level of incomes to determine the status. MWBE uses race and gender information to qualify a business. If I'm not planning on subcontracting, do I still need to complete documents? The answer is yes. You should still submit your MWBE utilization plan, the documentation of efforts template, and your quarterly reports. If Section 3 doesn't apply to my contract, do I still have to complete the quarterly report? The answer is yes. You will have to complete the MWBE portion of the report and the portion of the report that attends to FHEO. If I'm either an MBE or WBE, do I fulfill the total goals? You may have safe harbor for one of the goals for MWBE participation of 10%, but you will still have an additional 10% goal to show good faith efforts for any subcontracting or purchasing you perform with the CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT funding. What happens if I don't fulfill the goals before the end of my contract? All awarded contractors should perform and document their efforts. The Department of Housing has developed templates discussed in this presentation that help you complete the exercise. You can submit a waiver before the end of your contract for approval. This waiver request should be submitted with the efforts and justification as appropriate. Thank you for attending today's training. We hope you found the material helpful. Please remember to direct all your questions through the established protocols for this procurement. Thank you to the procurement team for allowing us to present this material. I will stop sharing the presentation so you can continue with the session. Procurement team, I'm handing over the presentation to you now.
Thank you, Carolina, for the presentation, and thank you for all attendees to be this morning with us. Please remember to check the due dates on the instruction of the RFP. All questions will be answered by written addendum. And be sure to check our website if there is any update in the process. Thank you very much again and have a good day.